Google reads this recording. All right, so I'm going to open up VS Code. Start our first website here. All right. This big cursor. All right. So first off, we're gonna create a new file, index.html. I think I've seen the HTML extension, but I think HTML is very conventional. Index is kind of like, I think back in the day, you go to an index of a site and it'll list out all the different files. So I think that's kind of how it started. It's kind of like your main or root. Yeah, not too familiar why, how it came about, but all right. So here's our file. Does this work? All right, it did, but it opened it up somewhere else. Okay, so this is our page. It's blank right now. We're gonna inspect it. It's called Developer Tools. Every browser has it. I think Firefox and Chrome are very popular. But with so many browsers using Chrome's engine called Chromium, I would recommend just going with Chrome. But in it, it allows you to kind of inspect your website. Is it too small? I don't know. Let me know in chat if you can't see. All right, thanks. That's for people who have finished. Okay. So even though we have nothing, the browsers are very lenient. They'll assume some tags for you. So this is pretty much the bare minimum of what a page would need, these tags. And we'll just, if you don't provide it to the browser, they make some assumptions for you. So of course, if you can be more specific, you want to specify what you want. Otherwise, the browsers can make assumptions that you might not like. Okay, so if we were to refresh again, it will look the same. Oops. Okay, so let's go through our first tag. So it's H1 through H6 is just heading. So, okay, so HTML, this HTML opening tag and HTML closing tag, and everything is nested inside. There's a head tag and a body tag. Head is kind of like the metadata about the page. So it's information about the page, but not really the page itself. So like maybe this title is something that's about the page, but it's not really content you see on the page. So right now it has index HTML, and that's how these tags work. You kind of nest them within each other. If you've seen XML, very much like that. So we wanted to add a title. We'll have an opening tag, and then you can put text inside those tags. And if we were to refresh, you'll see our title show up here. So again, it's not on the page, it's information about the page. And there's more stuff that goes in the head. Back in the day when Google was crawling websites and indexing it so then it can make a search easier, there are tags like description that it might use, but people's abused it to kind of like try to get more, get the page shown higher in Google search algorithm. So there's a whole field on how to get your page shown on Google. It's called SEO, Search Engine Optimization, and that's if you're into marketing, that'll be something you can look into. We won't go into that. So there are lots of tags that you can use. Styles and JavaScript can also go in here. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so now let's move on to the body tag. Anything inside the body tag is that actual content of the website. So we'll use our first tag here. This is our heading 1. Oh, and then also in your developer tool, you can see the tags that we added. Okay, so I'm going to refresh again to hopefully pick up our heading tag. So another cool tool is that if you right click on it and click inspect, it'll drop you to the tag that's being rendered to where you're right clicking. So we wanted to do the heading 2 tag and refresh. Yeah, so that's the gist of HTML. You're just adding these tags. So what I've done is I've kind of laid out the most common basic tags that most websites will use. And then as you get more comfortable, you just learn more tags and how to use them. So there's not much to it. So you'll learn more as you gain more experience, and then what will be the kind of the artfulness of it is, if you want to do something, you'll start to know where and when to use a tag. But yeah, okay, so let's go to the paragraph tag. And here you see that the paragraph is added. So the span is something you put inside the paragraph. So normally you would do it if you style it differently, and sometimes it's used for icons. So we were to do it here. Computer's getting really laggy. You'll see the blue text. Make it a little bigger. And you'll notice that it's very plain styling. Once we get into CSS and Bootstrap, it'll help you style it a little bit nicer. So the other thing you'll notice is the white spacing. If I do this and refresh, it looks the same. And if I were to kind of like keep the line from getting too large, it'll still be the same. If you wanted to add an actual just let that go. So all that matters is what's between the tags. So all the new lines and spaces is kind of like aggregated into a single space. And if you want a new line, you can use a BR tag. Okay. So let's do an image. Well, actually, let's do a tag link, which is called an anchor tag. So we throw that in here. And if you wanted a new line, you can do something like this, or you can split it into 2 paragraphs. So depending on the content and your intent for the content, you can use these tags to specify it. Like, is this really a new paragraph? Or if it's just like you wanted an extra line. And then this line spacing here, CSS, you can change that line spacing with CSS. So HTML is really about the content, get the information you want into HTML. And the tags you use is really how that information should be conveyed. If this link really should be a new paragraph, or if it should be at the end of the previous paragraph. All right. Any questions so far? I think in the pre-recorded video, I go through each one, so I will skip some. Maybe I'll go on to the attributes if there's no question. So ID is meant to identify a single element on your page. Let's see, if I do another heading, and to do the ID, you put it inside the opening tag. Second heading. And you shouldn't have another element with the same ID on the page. It'll probably still work, but it's just bad practice. It's intended for a single unique identifier. That's not to say you can't read it on a different page, but on the same page, you should avoid duplicating it. And then, okay, so let's refresh here. here's our second heading with the ID, and these are all the text that we've added. So one thing with ID is if you use this hash and do second heading, it's hard to show, but let's see if I can do this. So we go to the page. Oh, that's odd. I was hoping that it should take you to the tag. So I'm not sure what's going on. I'm gonna add more. Okay. Maybe there's something else. Because similar to how we have it here, it should drop you down to the right section. Even if we're out here, it should, okay, yeah. I don't know what's going on. Maybe things have changed. But that is a feature with the ID. I'm not sure why it's not working. Okay, sorry about that. The other attribute is a class. Is used. This one is not unique. You can have a multiple elements with the same class. So maybe is important text. And anything else that's important, you can give it a class with the same name. And then when we get to CSS, we can actually target the elements with this class and style it in a red text or something to convey that it's important. So that's attributes. All right. So you can try to add some more. So this, so I just want to talk about this briefly and we'll end here. So back in the day, these tags didn't exist and we're all just using divs. So div is a way to kind of organize things. So this is what we used to do. We used to add a div. So maybe like we'll give it a div and then label as section. Then maybe put this stuff inside that div as a way of grouping it. And if like everything in this section should be left aligned or something, right? And that's what we did. And then you can even nest more divs. But at the end of the day, we're just using this generic div element, which didn't really convey the intent of what was inside the div. So then they started making these semantic HTML elements. So the beauty of this is that it conveys to the browser or a like a website crawler like Google, or even like a accessibility reader. Maybe someone um, you know, if someone's vision is not that great, it might be read out to them. And if it's read out as a div, it doesn't convey much information. But if it says, like, if we use one of the more semantic tags like footer, then it knows, like, the person listening to the reader can know that, oh, this is just extra information that's not really important to the page because it's considered a footer, just a footnote. So these tags is really just a way to convey extra information about the content. So yeah, that's the intent. Um, and then nav is generally navigation, the header, uh, the sidebar menus, and then maybe the main section. Uh, these came out kind of after I was doing real in the weeds web development, so I haven't had too much experience with them, but that is the intent. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns? Oh, okay, we'll have a video for Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is at the end of CSS. I went over kind of just adding one kind of Bootstrap element. I didn't go over too many. So I'm kind of wondering, like, uh, did you watch that portion and that's not good enough and you want more? Or you just haven't gotten to that section and wanted a place to start on Bootstrap? Maybe you can let me know. Or you can let me know after I stop the video. Um, so there's nothing else. Okay. Um, yeah, so hopefully that video will get you going on Bootstrap. I'm going to stop the video then. There's no